Welcome to the second route showcase video. This time I have to show off something very different from the last one. In the last one I showed off my interpretation of an already existing part of Audrey's map. Today I show off a completely headcanon part of the island of Sodor, the Crovan's Gate Mineral Railway. Let's start with some history. In the year 1871, a coal mine opened around 3 miles north of Crovan's Gate. A small narrow gauge railway was built to run it. It runs all the way from the mine, connecting to the Skarloey Railway briefly, before heading all the way down to the Crovan's Gate wharf. As the railways and industries of Sodor continued to grow and expand, the coal mine expanded. In 1934, they built a single-track standard gauge railway running down to the wharf to replace the narrow gauge line. The narrow gauge line is still in service, but mainly just to bring supplies up and coal down for the Skarloey Railway. Now, before we continue, I just want to note some things. This route takes place in 1953. Also, this route has large chunks of the Wildnorwester Railway and the Skarloey Railway. This video is focused exclusively on the CGMR, the Crovan's Gate Mineral Railway, and the only bits of those other lines that we will be seeing are the bits they share of the CGMR. Lastly, I haven't decided on what engines will run this line, so as for this video, I'm just going to use Billy. Alright, let's get into it. The line starts at the Crovan's Gate Wharf. This is a freelance version of the wharf we see in the TV series. It has the classic Sodor Shipping Company building, as well as small facilities dotted around the small wharf. The wharf's standard gauge line predates the CGMR, being built by the S&M in the 1870s. These are the yards for the Crovan's Gate. Due to the fact that the works took up a lot of the pre-existing yard when it was built in 1915. The CGMR and the NWR have an agreement that see the CGMR's engines bring down and store the wagons in the wharf. A track leaves the wharf and crawls through the town. When it was built in the 1870s, the track was on the outside of the town, but over time the town expanded around the track. There is a small halt that a cluster of nearby factories operate at. The short half-mile tracks come out just into Crovan's Gate yards. Nearby, the narrow gauge track follows the shores of the Hollandui River for a short time before climbing steeply. The narrow gauge line to the wharf was built in the late 1870s, after the S&M was already around. The climb is required to pass over the standard gauge track that's now the main line. The facilities at Crovan's Gate at this point in time are very expansive. The giant work sheds sit here, as well as a turntable and a siding for trucks waiting to go down to the wharf to be left. The narrow gauge facilities include the shed, the turntable, and plenty of sidings for goods from the hills that the Skarloey Railway serves. The station is a modest design for its importance, and there are plans to expand it in the future. At the Skarloey platform, the tracks continue on. This leads up to the mine. Beyond the station, the line continues down a small chunk of the main line for a bit, with the narrow gauge tracks running alongside. Finally, a small signal box marks the entrance to the mine line. The narrow gauge line crosses as the rails point north, underneath a road bridge and past an old castle, and finally into the tunnels. These tunnels are a half a mile long and run underneath some really rough terrain. Finally, the tunnels come out at a small point between the lake and the hills. There was a small company town established here in the early 1900s with a small halt. This is Great Waterton, named as such since it contains the containers of water that supply most of the fresh water from Crovan's Gate. This town is seriously puny and only really miners live here. The line continues along a short hollow before arriving at the entrance to the Crovan's Gate mine. Here we are greeted by an ancient tower which stands dilapidating against the rocks. The narrow gauge track climbs a ridge and then overlooks the whole workings. I'm going to separate the workings into two sections, the narrow gauge and the standard gauge. The narrow gauge section is on the ridge above the rest of the mines. This is where a lot of the mine shafts start, with the narrow gauge tracks leading into a lot of them. There is also a shed for the mine engine who hasn't been assigned, as well as a small turntable. There are also more workmen cottages up here, as well as the mine shaft lift which sits above everything else on a hill. The standard gauge section is much more expansive. Coal is brought down by conveyor to the large hoppers. Here the trucks are loaded to be shipped down the line. The line passes through a small narrow before entering the back of the yards where the newest hoppers are. They were opened in 1947. This is also where the locomotive sheds are. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the Crovan's Gate Mineral Railway. It took me a very long time to make this, but it was worth it. I'm proud with how it came out. Thank you all so much for watching, and make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye!